What's up, guys? GoodeZilla back again. In this video, I'm going to be doing a Platinum Racing Products trigger kit install. I'm going to do a pretty detailed video, and then I'm going to try and take clips and make a shorter video just for the step-by-step stuff. So anyway, in this video, I'll be installing it on my RB26, my Skyline, and I'll show you the parts that I use after this little intro. So let's get into it. Alright guys, so here's the Platinum Racing Products trigger kit. It comes with the cam side and the crank side, and we have to put on this new timing belt gear because it has the, I don't know if you can kind of see it through there, it has the teeth basically to trigger the sensor. And then I also have a SuperTech Racing adapter for the CAS. So basically, instead of wiring in these connectors here, we'll wire in this, and then it can plug straight into the stock harness. So that way, if we ever wanted to go back to the stock CAS for whatever reason, we wouldn't have to undo a bunch of wiring and stuff. We could just unplug this and then click right back into the stock sensor. So basically, in order to do this, like I said, I'm going to have to take off the front covers and take off the harmonic balancer down there. It's a fluid damper, so I'm going to have to drain the coolant out of the radiator, remove that, remove the fan shroud, probably remove the fan, and then I'll have enough room to get the crank bolt out, and then I'll have to take the crank off, and then I have a little tool that holds the timing gears in place for the cams. So once I get it to top dead center, I'll put that little piece in there. It wedges between the gears so it keeps them in place, and then we can swap the bottom timing gear, crank, whatever gear, and then we'll have to cut part of my oil pump housing. It's like a little lip to make room for the sensor to go. So we've got quite a bit to do, but hopefully I can get this crank bolt off. It's like 350 something foot-pounds. It's crazy. Alright guys, so I got my car up on the quick jacks, and I got my heater going. So that's going to be in the background, so sorry about that noise. Got a pretty cool light there to light up the engine bay. Oh yeah, by the way, I opened up a new Amazon storefront. So basically all the stuff that I use in my videos from my whole channel, I try to put those in the store. So if I use a certain type of, I don't know, like the Pitman arm, like ball joint breaker, they come in different sizes. Well, I have the size that I use on this car in my storefront, so just click the link in the description. It'll take you to my storefront, and then you can just browse all the stuff. It's got parts, tools, consumables, all kinds of stuff. So it helps out the channel if you go there and you buy through my link. So anyway, let's start taking the fluid out of this radiator. Well, because I have this lip, it goes underneath. I have to take the whole bumper off to be able to get to the radiator drain. So, yay! I got my bucket here. Let me back it up. Got my bucket here. Oh, and the drain is right here. So I'm gonna try and catch everything that I can to save the coolant, because it's pretty new, and see how that goes. Oh God! Ridiculous. Guys, well, as you can see, the radiator is out. So now you need to take the accessory belts off, you know, power steering, water pump, alternator, and then I need to set it to top dead center. An easy way to do that is, you know, I have my little mark here in white, but it could be 180 degrees out. So take out the number 1 coil and spark plug and stick a extension down there, and make sure that it's all the way up on cylinder number 1 when the mark down there is on top dead center on the balancer. But on my HKS cam gears, they have little marks here, and they line up with the marks on the timing plate here. Let me see if I can zoom in. So yeah, right here, and then there's one over here on the other side, and then I don't know if you can see it. So that white mark right there, it's lining up with the top dead center mark on the crank pulley. So that should be top dead center, because I had the crank pulley at top dead center, but the cam gears weren't lining up. So that means it was 180 degrees off. Huh? Right. Jesus. Woo. I mean, I can do more force, but I'm afraid I'm gonna fucking break something. Like my face. Ready? Jesus. I think I broke it loose. Oh yeah. Well, it's either broken or I loosened it. Okay. Huh? Yeah, that's good. Yep. Oh my God. All right. Well, with the help from my wife, being in the car, holding down the brake, putting in 5th gear, using all the strength I had, plus some, finally got it off. Now I'm gonna use my harmonic balancer puller set, crank puller set, to get the crank pulley off, or harmonic balancer off, my fluid damper. But I need to loosen the accessory belts first to get those off. And then we'll continue on our journey. Link for this is in the description in my storefront if you need a harmonic balancer kit. And then just try to tilt it down enough to get the belt off. Okay. So just gotta back out this screw far enough to be able to lift up the alternator to get the belt off. There we go. Alternator belt. That's pretty nice. So you gotta figure out which size of these bolts fits into the damper. There we go. Coarse thread. So 5/16, 18 pitch. That's what the fluid damper uses anyway. so now we need to loosen the tensioner nut to take tension off the belt, and then we're going to try and slide it off the bottom and then try and get that gear off. Hopefully it comes off without too much issues. Fingers crossed. Alright, so I finally got it off with a mixture of getting it started with the screwdriver and then getting this pulley puller and then I used the big nut here and I put it like that and pulled it the rest of the way off. Sorry I didn't record it. I was just getting frustrated, and then I was like, oh yeah, I have the pulley puller, so. Alright, old one's off. Alright, these are the two bolts that came out of the oil pump, and this gets bolted in with these new bolts. They're concave, so they sit flush inside of the bracket. The kit comes with washers to space out the bracket if it doesn't line up with the teeth of the timing gear, so that's pretty cool. We need to, so we're keeping the back plate, which is still on there. I don't know if you can see it. There you go. And it says to shave off a tooth if you want to. It has its advantages, but I am not doing that. So anyway, you put the new timing gear on there with the teeth on the outside. And then we're going to bolt up the bracket for the sensor so that we can figure out how much of the little oil housing lip that we need to cut off or whatever, file down. And it'll kind of look like that. I don't know if mine's going to look that polished, but anyway. And then we had to do that to the timing cover as well, just to make room. So we'll go ahead and do that for now. So I had it marked, or had it mounted, and then I marked off where I need to trim off for the sensor to get close to the wheel. Well, as you can see, I've trimmed away some, but not quite enough yet. So, gotta keep going. I'm using this little air-powered like Dremel thing down there. Don't have any bits for my normal Dremel. Alright, so I had to take it off, and I trimmed a little bit more underneath so that the oil pump wasn't as close to the sensor. And then now I need to put like 1 millimeter of clearance between the teeth and the sensor, but I'll have to do that probably once I get the timing belt on. Alright guys, so I got the timing belt on and I installed this timing gear. The long pole goes towards the timing mark there. And the way that I got the timing belt on in a somewhat easy way was that I put the gear on about halfway and had the belt loose. It wasn't behind the tensioner and the idler pulleys yet. And these were lined up with the marks on both sides. And it was also like only maybe a fifth of the way on, or I don't know, like an eighth of the way on or something. That way I could get the line that's on this belt lined up with the mark that's down there. See that little divot? And it lines up with that divot. So then I was able to get it on snug. Then I slid it onto the pulleys, and then I slid it all on kind of at the same time, little by little, going around. And now it's on. So now I can torque these down to spec. I need to go look at my notes to see what that is. Torque down the tensioner to spec, and then I'll put my bracket back on, and then we'll install the sensor and get it clearanced here, install the bracket back on there for the sensor and get it clearanced there, and then we'll do some wiring. Here's the stock one. I took away the sheathing so I could see the colors a little easier. So yeah. Alright, so you can see that I've loosened the little grub screw, and I've turned this in and out until I get it to my 40 thousandths. Got 006, 014, 020. And we'll come on. So yeah, it just barely fits in there, nice and snug. And then we'll just tighten it up. And then double check. Yep. Oops. So we're good. I have a .508 and a .152, so that'll make it .66. Or I can do .711. I like that one a little better, not as close, but still in tolerance. Cool. So that's .71. And now I need to get a little wrench to turn that. I put my cover sort of on. I didn't remove the bracket yet, but this is just kind of to see how I wanted to run my wiring. So I think I'll try and find some sort of D bracket to bolt into here so that this wiring can go down like that. Got my marks here. Okay. And then crank. All three of my marks here. Okay. Alright guys, so I've got this crimper tool here. I'll link it in the description below and put it on my storefront, but it's used to crimp these connections right here. I just wanted to make sure off camera that I could actually put two into one, and it seems like it worked, so I'm going to go ahead and combine the browns or tans now. So blue wire is ground, brown wire is power, and then the black wire is the signal. So we're combining the powers and the grounds. Alright guys, it's been a few weeks since the last clip you saw, and I got some D-rings or P-rings or P-clips or whatever you want to call them in. I've done my wiring up here. It's okay. I would have liked to made this a little bit shorter, but I didn't want to make it too short because I wasn't exactly sure how all this was going to line up, you know, keeping the factory harness here. But here's the crank sensor, and then it goes up and it goes behind the PRP alternator bracket here, and that comes up, and then I've got it like zip tied and, you know, in these clips. And then there's the cam sensor, obviously. So yeah, I guess I just, you know, do everything you did to undo it in reverse and put it all back together. You know, put the crank on, make sure you have your keyway in there, and just go slow and make sure it doesn't, you know, get cockeyed and gouge anything. You don't use the front washer spacer thing anymore because you have these teeth here, so the timing belt's definitely not going to come off past these teeth. So anyway, just double check that you have everything all tightened back up to spec, and then yeah, next time you see the car, I'll be probably filling it up with coolant and trying to fire it up. I've got my little spark tester here, and I'll clip the timing light to here and put the coil on here, and then, you know, there's my timing light, so I'll try and get it in time. It might be rough for me because I don't have an idle air control with this intake manifold, so it likes to you know, do what it wants to do until it gets a little warmed up. So we shall see, but I'll show you how to do the settings inside the Haltech Platinum Pro software. Alright guys, so I got the crank back on. Not the crank pulley, you know, harmonic dampener, whatever you want to call it. But I had an issue. So in the instructions it says use, you know, one or two of the washers that came with the kit. But for me, it didn't look centered, so I added a third washer. But then there wasn't enough space. Now you can see a gap right here. But when I had three washers on there, it was touching the harmonic dampener. So yeah, I took it back off and removed the third washer. So I'm running two you can't really see, but it's not centered on the tooth, but the tooth is still completely, I don't know how you would call it. It's covered, I guess. Like the width of the sensor still is bigger than the width of the tooth. So the whole tooth is still being picked up by the sensor. It's just not centered, if that makes any sense. But I couldn't run 3 washers because it made this gap disappear, and then I was rubbing on the pulley. So anyway, just wanted to make that little note there. So do not run more than 2 washers with their kit. Alright guys, so a lot has happened, a lot of troubleshooting, and it all came down to swapping the cam and crank wires out of this plug. So in Haltech's, or not Haltech's, with Platinum Racing Products instruction manual, it had a difference between, the Elite Series and the Platinum Pro. And I have the Platinum Pro, so I went with that wiring diagram. But I don't know if maybe that's just old news or the way they do their kits now. It's updated. But anyway, so instead of cam being here, it's crank, and then cam, and then power and ground. So I'll throw a picture up here of what the wiring schematic is that I had to use to get this to work. But now it's working, so I'll go over what I did in the computer, and that way we can do that portion of it. I already did it because I needed to make sure everything was working, because it wouldn't even fire up until I swapped those 2 wires. But anyway, you're going to need a timing light. You're going to need like a little spark plug lead to go down onto the spark plug and then plug into the coil here. And then you'll need a second person to help you, and I'll explain why when we get near the computer. Alright guys, so we're inside the ECU manager, the Haltech for the Platinum Pro ECU, which looks different than an Elite Series. So anyway, you want to go up to Setup, and then Main Setup, and then over here where it says Trigger Type, there's only 2 choices for the Platinum Pro. There's the Nissan OEM, and there's 24-in-1. So mine was set to obviously OEM, and then down here it had a trigger angle of 110 degrees. Mine is at now 142 degrees, but we'll get to that. So what you want to do when you're trying to figure out what this angle should be is you go down here to your injectors. You want to disable them so you don't flood the engine. So let's just pretend that I hit disabled there. And then you want to lock your timing at 20 degrees. So that way, this one when you need another person, that way you can go up to the engine bay, and then with your timing light, and you can shine it down on the crank pulley and have the person inside the car crank the engine over. So what you want it to do is obviously you want the timing light to light up when it's at 20 degrees on the timing mark that's on the timing cover of the engine. And then you adjust this number up or down depending on how close or far away you are from that timing. So like I said, mine was 110 degrees and I couldn't even see the lines when the timing light was going. So I just threw a random number up there. I went up to like 150, or I think it was, 150. And then I barely saw the furthest from top dead center line lighting up barely. It was nowhere near the timing mark though. So I went in here and I lowered the number to like 130, and then it jumped all the way to, I think it was probably at like 10 degrees top dead center, past top dead center. I was like, okay, that's too far. So then I started creeping up, and I went to 140 and it was really close. So I was like, okay, I'll do 145. Then it was barely past the 20-degree mark. So then I went to 143 and it was still just a hair off. So I ended up on 142 and it was firing directly when my crank gear pulley, my harmonic balancer, if you will, was right at the timing mark at 20 degrees. So then I was done timing it. So I came in and I unlocked the timing and I re-enabled my injectors, and then I cranked the engine over to fire it up, and it fired up. So that's pretty awesome. You can also keep this locked if you wanted to, and then start the engine and then go check the timing again, and it should still be firing on 20 degrees, just because it's locked there, just as like a double checking type of thing with the engine running instead of just cranking. So yeah, there you go. That's how you do the computer part. It's hard to, I guess, gauge, because I was like, well, I don't even see the light, so I'll do like 500 timing angle, trigger angle, and then the engine was just like huffing and puffing and wouldn't even do anything. It was just like having a tough time, because I actually forgot to disable my injectors. So I knew that was way off, so that's why I started kind of low. Like I said, I started with 110, and I went to like 170 or 150, something. I don't remember exactly, but you'll just have to mess with the trigger angle, and that will change. Let me see. That will change when you move your sensor here. Like mine is set up just a little bit from all the way to the left. And honestly, I did this because I was watching a video of the guy that I was telling you about earlier, and this is what his looked like visually. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to set mine like that and start from there. So, but he has an Elite Series ECU, so it was a little bit different. Not much different, but a little bit different. And his trigger angle was like 530 or something like that. So I don't know if that's just the difference between Haltech Elite and Platinum Pro or what. But I mean, we are physically like in the same spot with our sensor, and there's only one spot for the sensor down there. Let me know if you can see it. No, you can't see it, but that just goes to show you that you just need to mess around with the trigger angle until it's correct for you. So yeah, guys. Now I need to clean this all up and get this wiring squared away and go for a drive. Well, guys, that was it. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Might be kind of boring sometimes, but I don't know. Some of you guys like the install stuff. My next video will probably be me installing my PowerTune Digital race dash that I got from Platinum Racing Products USA. So if you guys want this trigger kit or the any parts really for the Skylines and RB26s and stuff, Platinum Racing Products USA.com is where I've been going to get mine. They've been, in stock, or it doesn't take very long to get. So anyway, stay tuned for that, and like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and see you in the next one. See you.